Well, good morning. We did not get to record morning prayers. We usually do it at our 9 o'clock service on Sunday, October 2nd. This is the 2nd. My computer decided to freeze up and go into full panic mode or something. So in any event, was not able to record the service as I usually do. But I thought it would take a moment and at least record the substance, the essence, if you will, of my message. The gospel lesson for today is the disciples come to Jesus and say, increase our faith. And Jesus' response to them is, if you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it would be. If only you had faith the size of a mustard seed. Pretty small seed, right? So, how does that work? I mean, how does small faith yield something as impressive as uprooting a whole tree, roots and all? I wondered about that, and then it occurred to me, it's like, I've seen this. I have seen a bit of faith yield an extraordinary result. And it happened about 2.5 years ago in the earlier days of the pandemic. We got word here in Dyersburg and Dyer County that the local schools were going to be shutting down, as they needed to. We were all being told gathering in groups was unsafe. And nothing like gathering in a group, it's school, right? And so schools are going to be locking down. Now I'm talking about this next door at Matthew 25:40, an agency that the church supports. I'm talking about it with Melissa Brubaker, our executive director over there at the time. And Melissa's first response was, well, what about those kids who are going to be so hungry? And I looked at her like, huh? And she goes, Gary, a lot of these kids, a lot of these students go to school and they get there early so they can have breakfast. And of course, they get lunch. And for many of those students, those might be the only 2 meals they get all day. And now we're closing the schools. They're not going to be able to go and get breakfast. They're not going to be there to get lunch. They're not going to have school. They are going to have their hunger. And unlike summertime, when there will be summer feeding programs, you have time to think about and plan and implement. No such plans were in place. Not immediately, anyway. Parents didn't have time to figure out an alternative. This was all so sudden and so new. So Melissa said, we're going to feed them. We're going to give them dinner. I said, well, okay. So I had some questions. So does this mean do we have like a list? Do they need to apply? Are there qualifications? And Melissa said, that just sounds too complicated. I think if somebody shows up and they say they've got 3 students, we'll give them 3 dinners. I thought, well, that could be hundreds of meals a day. Melissa said, yeah. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, so let me ask you this. That's a lot of food. Where are you going to get all that food? Melissa said, I don't know. I said, now, we can get some of it donated maybe, but we probably have to buy some. How are you going to pay for all that? Melissa said, I don't know. I said, okay. And to get that prepared, to get that ready to hand out and to actually pass it out, I mean, she was going to have people just like do like a drive-through, but that means we would have to have volunteers to put all these meals together and to pass them out and do all of that. I said, who's going to do all that work? Melissa said, I don't know. So to be clear, I asked her, so to be clear, you don't really know how many, but probably hundreds of kids. You do know it's going to require a lot of food, but you don't know where it's going to come from. It's probably going to cost money, but you don't know where the money's coming from. It's going to require lots of workers, but you don't know where the workers are coming from. But you're going to start this when? She goes, in 2 days. And she did. And she did. She had that little bit of faith because she felt a call from God to answer this moment. And boy, did she ever. But she stepped out in faith, trusting that God, who had put this call on her heart, would find a way to live into it. And what happened, of course, is that, it was a huge success. Over the weeks that followed, we fed, because I was there almost every day, we fed hundreds of kids, hundreds of students. And it happened because Melissa Brubaker had a little bit of faith. And people responded to that. People would say, well, I was at Sam's Club. I was wearing my mask, of course. But I brought back a couple of cases of the individual bags of chips. Or snack cakes. Or juice boxes. Or something. I hope you can use them in your feeding program. Oh, yeah, we can. Others would come by and say, well, I'm not doing a lot of shopping, but I got a checkbook. And they'd give us $20, $50, $100 more. Local businesses got involved in finding various ways of supporting this ministry. Domino's said, well, if Pizza Hut can donate pizza, well, we can too. Sonic delivered, well, they don't call them Happy Meals. They call them something else, right? But Sonic provided in all sorts of ways. People stepped up. My own church is our own little St. Mary's. A group of us spent the night making, was it chicken rotel? I'd never made chicken rotel before, but I did. It wasn't bad, I don't think. It turned out all right. And then we gathered and we portioned out, servings into take-home containers so that for one night we provided dinner. God put the need into Melissa's heart. That call to take action. And she had the faith that God would provide the way. That God would provide, clearly, we had no problem finding kids with need. We had hundreds of people come by. We served thousands upon thousands of meals over the weeks that followed. But God provided the food and the money and the people. And it started with a vision and a moment of faith. It's a bit of a cliche, but it remains so true. It is not the size of our faith that matters, but the one in whom we place that faith, in whom we place that trust. We may not always feel ourselves completely able to face challenges before us. God simply says, well, give me a bit of faith. Put that little parcel of faith in me. Because what you are not able, I am, says God. Let us ever have faith in God. May our faith be perhaps as small as a seed. May our faith, like seeds tend to do, may it grow. And may we ever place that faith and trust in the God who is able to do all things. Amen.